Hello, everyone. Welcome into my office here at Bethany. Blessed to have you with me today. This coming week is the second week of Advent, and we will be talking about John the Baptist this week in church. John the Baptist is always fun because when I teach the confirmation kids about John the Baptist, the part they all remember is that he ate locusts. Good meal, right? He eats locusts. That's what they all remember about him. In any case, John the Baptist is actually a fascinating story because we have that whole line about how he comes to prepare the way for the Lord, to make straight the paths for our God. That's actually it's a quote of what comes out of Isaiah chapter 40, verses 3 through 5. And that idea there in Isaiah is prepare our way for the Lord, make straight the paths for our God. It's actually a reference historically to the Babylonians. The Babylonians had a tradition of making sure that there were highways that entered into Babylon for the gods to come and greet the people of Babylon and care for them. And so, in a way, as you see in the Bible, Isaiah saying it, and later on, then John the Baptist being attributed as the one who is doing it, that concept of make straight the way of the Lord, make pathways for our God, that idea was actually to say it's actually our God, the one and only God, who is coming, and he will lead the people not into Babylon, but away from it, away from that which holds them back, away from that which holds them in slavery. For the Israelites, that was slavery and exile in Babylon. For us, with Christ, it is slavery to sin and freedom from that sin, leading us to righteousness. And so John the Baptist ends up being the voice of one in the wilderness crying out, make straight the ways of the Lord. It is very interesting to see that and to see the connection back and forth between what the Babylonians did and what the Israelites did. The idea, like I said, being that the gods of the Babylonians would take those highways and enter into Babylon, and our God would actually lead us out into the wilderness where we were away from all that which holds us in slavery. John the Baptist, very important figure. It's not just the baptisms that he was performing, it's the message that he was giving. He was a voice of the gospel, if you will. There's also a part in here which is fascinating. We don't talk about this much in church, but I want to talk about it today a little bit. John the Baptist was Jesus' cousin. Actually, Elizabeth, his mother, and Mary were cousins. And it was Elizabeth's house, Zechariah and Elizabeth's home, that Mary ran away to after the angel Gabriel had approached her and told her that she would have a son and she was to name him Jesus and he would be the Most High. She was panicked. She knew people were going to reject her. Her parents were going to question her. Her husband-to-be, Joseph, was going to question her. Nobody was going to really believe her. And so she ran away and she went to her cousin Elizabeth's home. And it was Elizabeth, who at the time was pregnant with John the Baptist, who really talked Mary off the edge, so to speak. And so there's this great connection between Elizabeth and Mary, and then later on between John and Jesus, because we all know John the Baptist performs the baptism for Jesus many years later. So some interesting things. John the Baptist, a very fascinating figure within the gospel this week as we move through Advent and prepare the way of the coming of the Lord. It makes sense to talk about John the Baptist and to refer back to these words from Isaiah in the Old Testament. I look forward to seeing you this weekend. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Make straight the paths of our God. Amen.